Hi everyone, this is Matt with Southwest Florida Gamers, and today I was going to show you how to replace the battery in old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64 games. A lot of these games are getting pretty old and the batteries are starting to wear out due to their age, so if you want to continue to save games and have your games saved well into the future, you might have to start replacing the batteries in those games. By no means am I an expert in any kind of welding or soldering or electronics or anything like that. This is just stuff I've taught myself by watching a couple various videos and visiting various web pages about how to replace batteries, but I never just saw like a bare bones simple way to do this as easy as possible with as little equipment as possible, and that's what I want to do today. Okay, so to replace the battery in any old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, or Nintendo 64 game, I'm just going to go over some of the bare minimum requirements that you need to be able to do that. One, you need your old game that you're going to replace. You're going to need a 3.8 millimeter gamebit security screwdriver piece. You're going to need a replacement CR2032 battery, preferably with tabs already attached, a pair of scissors, some solder, and a low-powered soldering iron. This here is a 25-watt iron, which I got at my local Home Depot. All the other items I'll list in the game description with where I purchased them online. So basically, go ahead and open your game, remove the screws from the back, which I already did. Pull out your circuit board. In any game that saves the status of your games will have a battery in there. And again, these games are getting to be pretty old. These batteries do not last forever, and a lot of them are needing to be replaced if you want to continue to save your games well into the future. One thing to note that is if you do decide to replace this, there is a good chance that any saved data on the game board will erase. I have had it a couple times that replacing the battery, the data still remains on there, but I do not know for sure if or if not that's going to happen ever when I replace the battery. So when you're ready to replace the battery, grab your game piece and kind of be careful. You don't want to really touch the connectors, the connecting pins on the bottom of there. But what you want to do is, as you see on the back of the board here, you have 2 points where the battery comes through. This would probably be a lot easier having a clamp to clamp a small portion of the board, but again, this is a tutorial for the bare minimum tools required to do something like this, so pretty much anybody can do it at home. Now I'm going to try to get this on camera. It might be kind of difficult with the position we're in. Again, this is not the best way to do this. This is not the easiest way to do it. It's just the simplest way with the least amount of materials as possible. So go ahead and grab your soldering iron, and on the solder that's holding the pin in, either pin you can start with, go ahead and start to warm that up with the point of the soldering iron and start to pull on the battery itself as you do that. Now you do have to be careful because it does get hot, and you can burn yourself pretty easily. Sometimes, such as in this instance, you may find it easier if you bend the tab slightly up. A lot of the smoke, try not to inhale too much of that. It's not the best for you. But anyways, if it gets hot to touch, just let it cool down for a second. After a little while, continue to where the solder is piled up, melt that, and just pull out with the back of the battery. So we got the top tab out. Now to work on the bottom tab. Go ahead and start. You have to find a way that's comfortable to both secure the board down and be able to pull backwards on the battery as you melt the solder. And most times it's that easy. Also, working on a non-slippery surface does wonders for stability. So, you'll now notice that on the old battery, that the negative end of the battery has a smaller tab than the positive side has. The positive side you can see is a bigger tab. With the tabs that I'll list in the description, both the positive and the negative side have the equal size tabs. So what we have to do is we have to make a cut on the negative tab. And what I do is I just cut it right in half. And then with whatever half is smaller, I leave that half and I snip off the larger half. And when you have that done, your battery will now fit into the two previous holes that are in the circuit board there. So, we took out the first battery. Now it's time for the fun part of installing the new battery. So there's only one way that this can go in. As you can see on this board itself, it does have a little positive sign, plus sign, next to the bigger hole, and then there's a smaller hole which is for the negative side of the battery. Anyways, go ahead and begin to push whatever side you want in first. I usually find it's easier to push the positive side in. And now for the second tricky part, while you're putting a little bit of pressure on the back side, you have to begin to warm up the solder that's on the other side so that you can push the tab through. Once you get that through, you'll have to do the same for the other tab as well.
Move, please, your fingers.
Oops. And you can see with just a little bit of practice and a little bit of wiggle, you will eventually get both tabs to go back through the side. And then what you want to do is, with both tabs sticking through, go ahead and fold those over. And just to be safe, go ahead and grab some solder, and as best you can, solder the base of that with what you have available. It's very important that the solder you put on does not connect the battery to any of the other solder points on the board. That can prevent the game from working correctly. So anyways, go ahead and solder both tabs to the board. And when you finish with that, it's not the best solder job in the world, but it should last for another 20 years or so. And you can see the battery is firmly in place. It's not touching anything else on either sides. But once you get the other two tabs soldered on there, the game should be stable, ready to play, ready to save for another 20 or so years, all your new games on there. Now that you have the game open and a new battery in there, now is a wonderful time to also clean the connector pins, clean the shell of the cartridge as well, and do any other kind of maintenance to the game that you see fit. And that's a good way, simple, easy way to restore an old game. Again, it's not the best way. I don't know if it's the safest way or the smartest way, but so far it's worked for me with everything I put together from everything else I've seen on the internet. And I would very much like to thank my loving wife for recording this and putting up with my many takes on this whole thing. So if you have any questions, feel free to message us. Visit our Facebook page, facebook.com SWFL Gamers. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this has helped. Bye.